The views and opinions provided on this show are for informational purposes only and should not be misinterpreted as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, please go to passiveinvestorshow.com.
And now, the Passive Investor Show. Here's your host, John Fortes.
Welcome, PI listeners, to the Passive Investor Show. I'm the Passive Investor Consultant, John Fortes, your host of the only ranked podcast for passive investors in multifamily syndications and real estate funds. Our goal and purpose of this show is to be a resource to investors and help them master their passive investments by beating inflation 1% at a time. Welcome back, PI listeners, to another quick hitter. I want to focus on the importance of a newsletter when you sign up to receive content from a private equity real estate investment firm. The newsletter serves purpose for providing educational value of content. So when you're signing up for someone's website and you're jumping onto the newsletter or their blogs or whatever their content is, for instance, we have a newsletter where after we publish our blogs and podcast episodes that are really popular, that are getting a lot of attention, we push those out to our subscribers if they haven't already reviewed them. The purpose of that is when they're getting enough value in content, there's other things too. I don't do a ebook. I do a investment tracker. That's the free content I pump out. Now that allows you to compare your different investments, but I also include that now on the newsletter. Now, the purpose of all of this is to create some sort of trust and relationship through the form of a newsletter where you're enjoying the content and the content is beneficial for you and it's serving you to the point where you eventually decide to fill out the investment form that updates your investor profile within our systems, and then we can move on to having a phone call and a screening conversation where we both get to basically vet each other. So the other purpose of the newsletter is you're just getting value. Sometimes you can get a corporate update, different places where different private equity firms, real estate investment firms, they provide just newsletter, blog content. Some provide podcast, some provide just updates to their company every month. We are bi-monthly. Others are one time a month. Now, if you're just on a newsletter, you will not get anything but newsletter content. To get on the other side where you don't receive newsletters anymore, private equity real estate investment firms should have two lists. One where it's their committed investors, where they only see opportunities to invest in, and some migrate through the system where they come on and they receive newsletters and then eventually get onto the investor list. And when they transition from the newsletter to the investor list, for the investor, it looks like this. They stop getting the newsletter and they only get investment opportunities. And there's a reason why for that, because when you become an investor, you don't want to be, unless you really do want the content, you can stay on that list. But if you really don't want to give your investors a chance to unsubscribe without them going ahead through a deal. So that's kind of the purpose of that. But what you want to do is you want to transition new investors or new prospects and convert them to investors. And when you're transitioning through that, there's a lot of different ways to talk to your subscriber base. There's a lot of different ways where you're creating calls of action. But at the end of the day, it's all on the investor. When you've provided enough value and trust, that's when sometimes they'll reach out saying, hey, they'll reply back to the newsletter sometimes and they'll say, I want to schedule a call. Or sometimes they'll just go through and submit the form at the bottom of the newsletter. I always give an opportunity for that. But that's kind of the process of how I do it. There's other companies that do it differently. There's different ways to reach out. I do try to email certain investors, especially when sign up to the newsletter. If I can, I'll email them individually saying, hey, what's up? Welcome. Thank you for signing up. Hope I provide you a ton of value. And at the end of the day, it's just about creating some sort of way that you can just give back as much as possible. I noticed that a lot of people do ebooks, and I thought that was a little bit tired because everybody does ebooks. So what's the purpose of reading everybody's ebook? I'd rather it just be a book. Create a book. That's the separator to me. I feel like when you have a book rather than an ebook, a free ebook, I think a book goes a long way because you become a published author at that point, rather than just saying you're a published author based off an ebook. That's just kind of how I'm wired, how I think. But as a private equity investment firm, for me personally, I think the value is for passive investors creating something that they can use. And I thought that was a tool where the investment tracker fit that bill. So that's the purpose of a newsletter, transitioning from prospects to investors. And that's the experience of an investor. When you're going through that, you'll notice whether the content is for you or not. And then you'll start engaging more and more and more with that company, firm, or even with products that you use every day. Like say you're subscribed to a Nike newsletter. You'll notice what the point is to get you to buy something. That's just kind of how you can think of it, or you can understand the process. And I thought I'd just break down that process for investors. Understanding the process of a newsletter and what's its purpose. I hope that helps. Don't forget to download your free copy of the investment tracker. It allows you to track up to 5 investments, compare sponsors, markets, and most importantly, projected versus actual returns. To get your copy, go to www.projectedreturns.com. PI listeners, thank you for listening. As always, we hope this was the best resource for your investment strategy, but also the best use of your time. Remember, if this episode helps you, you can help us by leaving a review on iTunes. I hope you feel compelled enough to share it with someone you think this would resonate with as well. As much as it pains us to leave you, but you know what time it is. Time to go put this into practice. Till the next time we meet, happy investing. PI listeners, I'm grateful for your time and I appreciate you for listening. It would mean the world to me if you went to iTunes and left a rating and written review. Let me know how you feel about the show. It really makes a big difference with getting the podcast out there. Don't forget about our Facebook group, where all of our guests are members of. I'll be there to answer any of your questions, or even questions you might have for future guests. Subscribe so you can get the latest episodes and our fan favorite quick hitters. Finally, I want to keep you updated, so head over to johnfortes.com and sign up for the newsletter. If you're interested in partnering with me, sign up on the contact page so you can talk to me directly. I look forward to connecting with you. Happy investing.